Come on.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the only podcast produced by three two-time winners of IMSA's Spirit of the Race Award. You're tuned into the Check Engine podcast. We're hosted on Anchor.fm and we are streamed worldwide on all the platforms that you use to listen to your favorite podcasts. Nick, Tristan, and Andrew are all at the mics like we are each and every week. Guys, what's happening?
Everything's happening. It's a busy time for me. I mean, well, I guess with the baby on the way, when is it not a busy time? But,
Yeah.
home stuff and work stuff and summer stuff. And it's amazing how in a summer when theoretically not much is going to happen, not much is going to change, like no wild trips, people aren't going to be going everywhere. It just seems like there's so much. I feel like I'm prepping for more than I ever have in my life.
It's crazy how fast our schedule is filled up. Like, people are asking to do things and people are asking to, are you available? And we're like, just digging, like deep diving through our calendar. Like, oh, there's a day when we might be able to do something. It's unreal.
Well, Tristan, you're planning a wedding.
Yes. I was going to say, I'm not planning for a child, but I am planning a wedding. And those things are complicated. So ours, we're trying to keep it as easy as we can, but still complicated. So, and that, like, there's like a little countdown day, like timer, and it just keeps getting surprisingly shorter.
Yes.
Like, wow.
Yes.
When did I lose 20 days? It's unreal. So.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, you've got some suits picked out. It looked like you were making progress there.
Courtesy of not a sponsor, Generation Tux.
Yeah, no, he sent me pictures looking fresh as hell in the kitchen with a snappy gray suit and everything.
Snappy gray suit and bare feet.
I got ones for you guys, so
that's gonna be awesome.
I'll be rocking our gray suits and our CEP shoes. I don't know.
That would be sweet. Actually, Tristan, remind me. So there is like a rehearsal dinner, right?
There's
type thing.
Yeah. There's a dinner beforehand.
Right.
Yes.
Because what I've been kicking around for a while in my head is the idea of a linen suit, which I feel like this is the chance to do it because Florida.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And I think that might have to happen.
That was originally on the docket.
See, that's just classy. Well, it's not, but it's Florida.
But it didn't work with yellow dresses because it looked really weird and washed out. So.
Oh yeah.
But here I get to say it again: we're not a fashion podcast.
We're not a linen suit podcast.
Are we taking notes of all the stuff we're not?
We're not a haberdashery podcast.
We weren't talking about hats. Yeah.
No, that's millinery.
Wait, what?
What?
Milliners are hat people. Haberdashers are men's clothing people.
Those clothiers?
Maybe in French. I don't know.
Look at this. No. This haberdasher. Fuck.
Yes, I told you.
Wait, no. I'm going with definition 2. A dealer in small items used in sewing.
Going with definition 2.
Literally a thimble seller. I did not know that. I thought haberdasher was for hats.
Nope.
Milliners. Wait. Yep. Milliners make women's hats. Hatters make men's hats.
There you go. See?
Oh,
why is ours easy?
On a side note, many people call hat
because we're simple beings, Tristan.
Wow.
Sir, where are you going? The Hat Man? I call him the Hatter.
The Hatter. Well, I make hats. What do you call yourself?
Hatter?
Hattist.
Hatterist.
Oh man. I did not know that. I feel like an idiot for not knowing that now.
Don't worry about it.
Anyways,
okay,
let's move on.
pretty sure
we're also not a vocabulary podcast.
That's true.
Yeah, and
let's move on before we have to cut all this out.
Yeah. So we are, in fact, a car podcast. If you're new to this, we should probably remind you at this point. We are a car podcast, not a vocabulary or haberdashery or hatter podcast. So tonight, we're going back to an old tried and true format, which is no format at all. We're just going to, as if it revolves around cars or motorsport or something similar or adjacent, we're going to bring it up to the group and we're going to have a chat about it. So in that case, there's no need for pace laps, because essentially this entire episode is pace laps, just random news and notes that we can sink our teeth into. So who wants to kick us off?
I will, because I want to follow up on something that we talked about briefly before. Like, as the F1 season evolves, I think personally I'm going to be checking in on this simply because I find it somewhat interesting. But Monaco was this past weekend.
Yes.
And Max Verstappen came in first.
Yes.
And Hamilton came in seventh.
Oh my gosh, he's human.
Which seemed to me, I was like, oh my God, how odd. I couldn't think of a lower finish, but it turns out he's actually finished seventh a few times. He finished seventh once last year, once in 17, once in 16.
it's not often, but the thing with Hamilton is, usually that happens because of a crazy, untimely caution that catches out his strategy, or if it's rain or some sort of massive wild card that gets thrown into the mix into a race. What caught me off guard about this seventh place finish, two things. One, it was just normal run-of-the-mill race weekend, and he was nowhere close to the front in practice and qualifying or anything. And two, the second part of this is, normally, as someone who's won 100 poles and nearly 100 races tends to do, you are the barometer for your team. Mm-hmm. So team goes as Lewis goes. So what really surprised me was, while Lewis was struggling in the bottom half of the top 10, his teammate, who is normally miles behind Lewis, qualified on the front row, was running for a solid podium until the weirdest pit mishap ever that forced him to retire. I don't know if Andrew you saw what happened. Tristan, did you see this?
No, I didn't.
Bottas comes in for his pit stop, and the right front wheel gun shears off all the threads on the wheel nut to the point where
it's still on there, actually.
Yeah, like they couldn't take the wheel off until they got the car back to the factory. They had to ship it home with the tire on it.
Yeah, it's still on now.
Forever. Now and forever.
It's never coming off.
So, I mean, this is interesting for a couple of reasons. I mean, clearly at this point, we are just minutes away from a bevy of fiery hot takes about how Hamilton is done and threw his team under the bus and this and that and the third. The hot wave of... Never mind.
You can't leave it at just hot wave.
But I couldn't think of anything that wasn't cum.
Gross. Neither could I, apparently, which is why I needed you to continue.
The hot takes that have been saved up for many a year and come out every year basically are on their way as we speak. But so I guess my first point was that one seventh place finish is not even necessarily out of what kind of normally happens in the course of a season to Hamilton. But I don't know. I keep thinking of what we were talking about a couple weeks ago, Nick, where finally, after, how many years? 5 years?
5 or 6 years, probably.
Yeah, of just dominance by Mercedes and Petronas. There's actually something to look at now. There's another driver who didn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but who's challenging there, and he's got a great name, and he's driving really well, and he looks this car or him or some combination, however you want to phrase it for F1, doesn't look unbeatable, but it looks damn near. And I in the future, I know that there are format changes coming, and I'm just like, God damn it. I don't want that. Don't screw with it now. Stop. Make it stop.
Well, see, the format changes were agreed upon when Hamilton was still dominating.
I know, but it's
so now they're too far down the road to back off on those. But you are correct. It's weird to me too. Just another point that for whatever reason, I think at Red Bull, Sergio Perez is getting there. He's a veteran. He'll figure it out. I think he finished 4th this past weekend, 4th or 5th. But how far back the second Red Bull always is from Verstappen.
Yeah.
Like Hamilton beats Bottas on a regular basis, but usually Bottas is like 2nd or 3rd. Mm-hmm. Whereas like Verstappen wins and the other Red Bull is like 9th. It's like way off the, but so you can't say it's on Red Bull versus Mercedes.
Right.
But you can say Verstappen versus Mercedes for the rest of this year. And it's going to be a knockdown, drag out fight, I think. Because if you think about it, these guys are not going to develop their 2021 cars for that much longer. They're going to turn, with all those new regs coming, they're going to switch their focus over to all their R&D stuff over to the 2022 spec.
Yeah.
So it's going to be like probably in the next 3 races or so, it's going to turn into, hey, this is what you got for the rest of the year. Go.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be
super
awesome.
Curious.
It's
super curious to see that. But yeah, I just wanted to say, oh wow, this is an amazing number. So Verstappen won. Hamilton was so not close. He was 68 seconds behind. And not
he was
only
almost
that,
getting lapped.
Yeah, exactly. He was the last finisher who was not down a lap.
Yep.
It's just...
So yeah, he was 1 minute and 8 seconds behind at the end, and they're turning in race trim at Monaco about 1 minute and 13 second laps. So in another 2 or 3 laps, if that race would have been that little bit longer, he would have been getting blue flags to move over for Verstappen.
I mean, come on. What honestly, there should be bards creating ballads of this season to this point simply for how often and how loudly and how long everyone who even tangentially is related to F1 media has been begging for this exact situation. Yet I see nothing. The only thing I see was a bunch of people shitting on Hamilton for being like, after qualifying, like, yeah, the team has a lot to learn. I don't. He probably doesn't. Like,
how much more does he have to learn with 100 wins and 100 poles?
That's what I'm saying. He probably doesn't. Maybe the team does have stuff to learn. At what point does he get credit for having all of the everything? At what point does he get a little bit of credit for just having everything?
Yeah.
Maybe it's not his homework to do this time.
I don't know.
What
the group project, he's done with his part of it.
What I don't like about what happened with him was they tried some pit strategy stuff. Monaco, for those who don't know, is almost impossible to pass. It is not impossible. It is almost. So Qualifying is super important. Usually pit stops and pit strategy is where you gain places. Otherwise, it's kind of a parade. So, they tried some things and he came out, Sebastian Vettel out of nowhere comes out into the top 5 even after his pit stop. And now Hamilton is, back a couple of spots. And for like 15 laps after, all he was doing was screaming at the team for the strategy call. It's like, okay, we get it. It's hard to pass, but like the entire grid just resigns itself to like, we're not going to make passes on track. It's like, dude, you won 100 races and 100 poles. You're the best driver in the history of the sport. If anybody can probably make some passes, it's probably you. Why don't you just get your head down and try to go to work here instead of just bitching on the radio the whole time?
That is actually a really good point. You do hate to see that.
Like, because there's been times when his team has made mistakes before. Granted, it's on tracks with more room to make things happen. Well, what happened at Imola? He went from 9th to 2nd.
Right.
And drug himself out of a hole. You're not going to pass 7 people at Monaco, but I feel like he had more pace than whoever. I think Gasly and Vettel were the 2 in front of him. He probably could have gotten a top 5 out of it.
it's just but yeah, I mean, Monaco's tight, but
if there's anybody on the grid who can make it work, though.
Yeah. Imola's like, I mean, you hate to say it, it's literally kind of a death trap. Like, people died there in recent memory.
Nobody else hates saying it, but
yeah,
it's all you ever hear about it. But
I know. Yeah. I just feel weird about saying that. You know what I mean? It just feels like not the right thing. I know it's true, but it just feels a little icky.
Yeah.
Anyways, I don't know. The fact that there are format changes is ruining it a little bit for me. Actually, more than a little bit. It's ruining it a lot.
So what if these format changes, at least for this first year coming up in 2022, because no one has had a chance to really figure it out yet? I mean, you could be seeing it with more than just two guys.
I know, but I don't
like
want
this year on steroids next year, potentially.
But I don't want it to be, I don't want this year. If there is, let's say somehow we get to the end of the season, it's the dream F1 scenario, right? Final race, you have to finish first in points to get the drivers. Like, you just got to do it. And it's Max and it's Lewis, and they just have to go. I would hate to see anyone who comes out on top in that scenario, or anyone who wins this season at all. Well, there were the format changes. I don't want it to be the Lakers championship excuse. It was the bubble. It's still the NBA. It's still F1. It's still, you know what I mean? I don't want it to be that. Tom Brady got 7. Oh, well, it was no. Let's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Just people trying to find an asterisk.
Right, yeah. When there shouldn't be. I would hate for that to happen now in F1 with the season that literally everyone has been begging for, and no one's talking about it yet. I don't get that part.
We should be shouting this from the rooftops. Hamilton actually has to look in his rearview mirrors.
F1 is good again.
I think for the first time since Rosberg was his teammate, and they were in that superheated rivalry. Mm-hmm. Rosberg wins the title and goes, "Deuces, I'm retiring."
You got to respect the swagger.
Yeah, he just walks a literal walk off.
Yeah, well, that was my F1 thing.
Do we want to stick on motorsports for a little bit, and then we'll just finish up with regular?
I know you want to talk about IndyCar.
It's coming.
Let's do it.
It's the best weekend of the year.
Do it now.
Let's do it, baby.
Indy 500 coming up this weekend. Greatest race in the world. I really want to touch on two storylines. So, well, maybe three. The first one, not a surprise really to anybody, at least on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Scott Dixon wins his 4th pole for the 500.
Boom. Right there.
You know, if you have, like this, if you ever feel like someone deserves another one at Indy, like another win in the race, it's probably him. He's 6 championships, 3rd all time in series wins. He's led almost 600 laps at the Speedway. He's won the pole 4 times. He's finished 2nd 3 or 4 times. Won it once in 2008. Like, you feel like he's due for another one. Like they say the Speedway doesn't owe anybody anything, but like the racing gods, like it would feel like a miss if he were to retire in another 2 years and not get at least one more Indy ring. But
it'd be good if he won.
It'd be good if he got another one. But I think the coolest storyline is the team that starts 33rd, shotgun on the field. Team in their first race, Peretta Autosport. So we, on this little show a couple of years ago, interviewed Heinricher Racing in IMSA, female-owned team. This is the first IndyCar team, or actually second, with female ownership. Sarah Fisher did it back in the day when she was kind of owner-driver, fun, putting out her own team. But Beth Peretta owns a team. They've got Simona Di Silvestro driving the car, who's been in IndyCar before. She's been doing a lot of stuff with Formula E and Porsche recently. They brought her back and kind of, I guess, taking the next step from what Heinricher did. A vast majority of the entire crew, engineers, mechanics, are all female. It's not just owner and driver at this point. Like the entire over-the-wall crew doing the pit stops, except I think the gas can or the gas man is male, but
sure.
all 4 tires, all 4 corners are getting changed by females. They all have,
I like that.
They all have other full-time jobs. They had to all take vacation, 2 weeks of vacation, like to go do this. And in order to not miss work, they're going into the shop and doing pit stop practices at 4 a.m. leading up to this before their shifts start. They got in on bump day. They were the last car in. Two cars missed the show, but Simona Di Silvestro and Peretta Autosport in a female forward team, top down, has made the Indy 500. So the exact opposite end of the grid from our man Dixon, but I think the story there is bigger than anybody up on the front row.
Definitely. I saw some IndyCar took it to some shit ass on Twitter. It was like, I failed to miss that the woman was the last one to qualify. I was like, and 2 cars didn't. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of whatever.
You get in and you get in and drive 240 miles an hour towards a 90-degree corner and don't lift. All right, pal.
It's not even that. She beat 2 people. It's like, what? It's not like everyone gets to go in this race even. What are you talking about?
Last to qualify, but not
This is the hardest
overall.
race in the world to make.
It's just so
It's one of the only races in the world, if not the only race in the world, that still has people who don't qualify.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like
due to economics and everything else, most race series everywhere show up and you get to race.
Mm-hmm.
This one, they're still bumping. They're still sending people home. Like, and she did it. So Simona Di Silvestro is a better driver than you.
Oh, definitely.
And me and Andrew and Tristan and 99% of the people on this planet. Like, so I hate that stuff. I absolutely hate it. But she's in 500 miles. Do they have the speed to... They're not going to win it on pace. They're not going to tear up through the field. But keep it clean, keep it consistent. It's 500 miles. A lot of stuff can happen. They're starting right next to Will Power, by the way, who is probably the greatest qualifier in the history of the sport, and he had to go in through the bumping process.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It doesn't mean... I don't think it means as much as anybody says it does because of things like that.
Right. But, well, I mean, and also just the oddness of the format of IndyCar, right? Like, as people get knocked off, as the day gets hotter in this instance, people are at the top are qualifying for their slots slower than the people who got knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just the way it works. It's a really weird race, and I saw so much chatter about it on Twitter while it was happening, qualifying, and Will Power's whole thing. I mean, he got probably thousands, maybe even millions of tweets specifically about him and his I guess issues in qualifying. So I mean, this is like a whole other animal.
Yeah, this is well, I mean, IndyCar, it's, you know, been like the general consensus is that there's 2 IndyCar seasons. There's everything leading up to the 500, and then there's the championship run after the 500. Like, this is it's its own beast, and I'm super excited after a year away to be going back. It is a little over a quarter of the total attendance will be allowed in. So everybody masked, everybody spaced out. It will be the largest crowd or gathering since the pandemic started, but the place is so massive, it's going to look like a ghost town. We're going to have plenty of room to spread out. And knock on wood, weather looks solid as of today. I know we're 6 days out, so as long as it doesn't rain, I'm going to be happy to be there. And
find more wood to knock on, because that's
heck yeah.
You gotta
So yeah, I mean, another weird thing about Indianapolis is you can either have usually you can either have the car really trimmed out and it works really good in single car qualifying, but then you put it in traffic and it's garbage, or the opposite. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, Dixon and his teammates, all 4 of the Ganassi cars, they all qualified in the front 3 rows, so the top 9. And then immediately following qualifying, when they let the entire grid out for practice, and it was a huge train, traffic runs, all 4 of them were back in the top 8. So for whatever reason, they got it figured out where we're really good when we're by ourselves, but we're also really good in traffic. So it's going to be interesting to see who can catch those Ganassi cars.
So remind me, Nick, if I'm, or correct me if I'm remembering this wrong, but Dixon usually does odd or at least different 500 fuel strats, right? It's usually like longer stretches.
It just really depends on what the race throws at you, where cautions fall and those types of things. He is good at conserving fuel. So now, if he's leading the whole time because he is starting on pole, you're the one who's essentially breaking through the air. And you can breathe a little bit earlier and kind of control the pace that way, but then you leave yourself open to getting past. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see him going a lap or 2 further, especially if he settles in early to run in second, third, fourth or whatever. He'll stretch it out a little bit. And when you make, I think this race is usually 7 pit stops, maybe 8 to get through it. So if you think a lap or 2 each time, that's 8 to 15 extra laps at the end that you can either short pit for less weight. That just, it opens up your options for the last 50 laps. So
yeah. Well, hopefully he wins. I would love to see that.
Yeah. It would be really cool. It was a really cool weekend this past weekend with Dixon winning the pole, and then, it would be really awesome if they could tap it off with a W coming up here. So we'll see. But no other real motorsport stuff besides NASCAR doesn't know how to race in the rain. I don't know if you guys saw it. Yeah, that's shit. Wow.
I did see that. That was a little whoopsie.
Wow.
Whoopsie there.
Little whoopsie.
We'll get on to some actual road car stuff now, but listeners, if you didn't, just look up the video highlights from NASCAR's debut at Circuit of the Americas down in Austin. It was interesting.
A lot of GT drivers had a lot to say about that specific straight at COTA. And it's interesting how no one ever pays attention until a lot of eyes are on stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Eversley had a couple tweets about it. Pretty much everyone in IMSA I follow had at least one tweet about COTA specifically.
Yeah. So look that up, folks. We don't need to spend a ton of time on it here, but if you didn't see it, look up some highlights or some of those short clips on Twitter or whatever. It was there was a lot of shit happening.
Yep.
It's that Texas rain, Nick. We know it can
means
be nasty,
business.
though.
We were at that track when it's rained before.
Yeah,
It's not just the state; it's that town.
Yeah, that's hiding under bridges and nearly drowning.
The weather means business in Texas.
In Texas, yeah.
If it rains, it's going to drown you. If it's sunny, you can fry an egg on your forehead.
Or just start on fire.
Or just burst into flames. Just combust. It's crazy down there. But, yeah, anywho. This seems like a good spot before we dive into our first, maybe, road car story to remind folks how to get a hold of us. So, transitioning from motorsports to the street. Before we do so, guys, you can reach out to us on social. You can find us on Facebook by searching Check Engine Podcast. Andrew, where can they find us on Twitter?
At Check Engine Pod.
Tristan, how about Instagram?
Also at Check Engine Pod.
Well, there you have it. Be sure to follow, share, post, DM. Reach out how and when you can. You can ask us questions to answer on the air. You can let us know what you like or dislike. Give us topic ideas for future episodes, all that kind of stuff. We look forward to hearing from you, so thanks in advance. Now, Tristan, motorsports isn't necessarily your forte, so you've been quiet so far. Why don't you lead us off with some streetcar stuff?
It's my forte, just not those. I happened to fall into the gap this week. But there's something I'd like to discuss. I think it's this week's elephant in the room.
Uh-oh.
No, it's metaphor. Andrew, stop looking around.
Okay.
But it's the new electric F-150.
For Christ's sake, why bother? It's not like they're going to make a second.
20,000 pre-orders already?
19,999 disappointed people, right, Andrew?
Yeah, basically.
I think it's the one thing that I find really refreshing about it is they take the electric car idea and just like do it exactly how I would want someone to do it. They just make what they used to make, but it's electric.
Yeah,
like they didn't make it not look like a trunk, like a truck. They used the
or
front.
A trunk.
Well, I was getting there. I was ahead of myself. They just took that big thing in the front where the engine goes and made it a truck. Like, just put stuff in there, story or whatever, and like, you know, it's you know, have a frunk, you know, like it doesn't look like some weird electric version of what it's supposed to be. And I don't know why, but I appreciate that. Like, it was something that struck me. I was waiting to see like some weird tip off that it's an electric vehicle, and there's some like the grill is a little bit different because it doesn't need cooling up there, like that kind of thing.
Stupid light.
Yeah,
looks like a staple.
But like, you know, they didn't make it rounded or anything else to say, hey, this is an electric truck, and I like that for whatever reason, and I think I think it might be overstating, I don't know, but I feel like this will kind of be a test, kind of like we saw like later on with hybrids, like when Toyota was really aggressive in making hybrids just look like a regular ass car.
For that 2-year period.
Yeah.
Before they redesigned the Prius and turned it into a Frumpkin.
Well, the Prius is still the Prius, but like even things like the Highlander has a hybrid version, you know, and you know, things like that where it's just like, this is a hybrid version of the same thing that we always make, and it looks the same. And then a lot of other companies kind of took that and ran with it. You know, the hybrid Fusion, hybrid SUVs, a lot of the Hyundai hybrids are all normal. You know, except when you pull far into the Ioniq line, but that's mostly that they were heading for electric at that point and kind of took the futuristic look to things. And that's kind of the question I have is like, for a car to quote unquote be futuristic or what the future is going to be, does it have to look that way? And that's what I'm curious to see, is if this is kind of if not opening the floodgates, at least nudging people in the direction of, you can just make a regular car that's an electric car and people would like it. I don't know.
Well, here's the thing. There are not that many super hyper mainstream electric cars that are actually real. So when we look at Tesla, it's mostly a meme company. They made most of their money last year off of pumping and dumping virtual currency. Like we know all of that. And people who buy Teslas aren't buying them A, to work, or B, to be a primary source of transportation. So we know that anything that Tesla does in terms of design or in terms of like concept cars, using that term loosely because any idiot thing they build as a concept Elon Musk believes is real, like the stupid Cybertruck. So they aren't really a good example of anything, although they have kind of dictated the stupid electric car lip, which looks really dumb and will eventually go away. You know what I mean? Where there should be a grill panel, they just kind of just take some plastic and like smear it over, and then it's like a hard line that looks like shit. The Kona Electric does it as well. But I don't know. I think that people don't want the future to look like the future. They kind of want it to look like the now.
Yes.
And I think in terms of sales, there's no way Ford was going to make anything like that. What's that that company,
truck company?
Yeah.
Rivian.
Rivian. Yeah. With the truck that does the stupid donut. Clowns.
What?
It's like they have like a tank mode, and when you enable it, you can scuttle it around 360 degrees in place.
It rotates on itself.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
It's got 4-wheel steering and it can go in a circle.
Yes.
Clever.
Very stupid.
I like that it has towing charging though.
The Rivian?
Yeah, which is a clever feature if you're going to have something like an electric car, you can charge it simply by towing it. Which, imagine the abuse that you could put your AAA card to. I ran out of battery. My AAA account lets you tow me 100 miles. Could you tow me 100 miles with all 4 wheels on the ground, please? And then get there and then just keep driving.
Yeah, I suppose you could do that. But anyways, they're not making it look like that, and nor does Ford seem to be making a lot of weird promises about like the capabilities of their vehicle. They just seem to have made a truck, which I appreciate. I have read zero coverage about this. What I do know is that thing will be a fucking nightmare to drive on the road with, because they put the light all the way across the top of the grill and down like a quarter of the way down. That is right in your fucking rearview mirror and in your side mirrors. So I hate that car already.
I actually didn't even think of that.
It's going to replace Subarus as the single most hateable vehicle on the road.
To have in your rearview mirror.
To have driving at you too.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. I don't know. I just think I never thought of that. That's going to suck.
Yep.
I do agree with Tristan with his statement on, I like the fact that they just put batteries in a truck. Like they didn't try to go all nuts and redesign and all that kind of stuff. And then also, it's a low-hanging fruit. They absolutely should have done this. If they didn't, I would have driven to Detroit and found Farley myself and strangled him. It just lends itself to call it the Lightning. I mean, bringing back Lightning, that's obvious. 100% should have been done. Super easy decision. I think that's very cool. It's just,
they weren't going to use that for anything else.
Yeah, they weren't. They shouldn't. And that adds a new wrinkle to it, though. Before I didn't really mind it too much, but thinking of
the light,
the light now is really, you threw me for a loop, Andrew. Damn,
it's going to be really bad. It's going to be appalling.
Is that the actual? That's just the daytime running light, right? Like,
doesn't matter what it is necessarily, unless when you turn the regular lights on, they all go to the side or something like that. That is going to be unbelievably hard to deal with, even if it is just a DRL.
Even if just glowing there.
Have you seen how bright the DRLs are on Subarus?
Yeah.
No, I mean from the. I know that you. Yes. No, from the other side, in a different car.
Yes, I have.
It's horrible. It's the worst shit ever.
The main thing is that they don't aim them.
No, they don't. There will be a reckoning about this, by the way. Even if it comes by my own fucking hand, there will be a reckoning about how you...
Don't you touch my car.
You highway safety assholes are just letting people put 1.21 gigawatt bulbs in every single car and just saying that safety pick double plus. Nothing could be safer than this.
I do regularly get flashed with my low beams on.
As well you should, sir. As well you should. Aim that shit down. Give me 3 degrees of down. That's it.
But then when they keep flashing me, I just light them up like a lighthouse.
I mean, yes, that is.
And then you chuckle to yourself because that's fun.
Because I give them a little flash, like, no, these are my brights. It could be worse. And then they flash me back. And I flash them again. They flash me back, and I just turn the high beams on.
That is your right, yes. If you get repeatedly flashed...
How long are you getting flashed like that? That seems like a pretty long transaction to have, like...
Very long straight roads.
Like 3 back and forth.
On straight roads,
Yeah.
They see you coming and they think you have your brights on, and before it's going to blind them, they start trying to get you to turn them off. Well, surprise, they're already off.
Surprise.
Yeah, it's awful. It is simply awful. And I don't know. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory to say that the IIHS does not give a shit about this specific problem.
About your
retinas? They only care... What?
They don't give a shit about your retinas?
No, they don't give a shit about it because it hasn't provably caused car accidents yet. But once it does, I don't know what they're going to do because they've completely painted themselves into the corner by creating literally a specific class of vehicles with just incredibly bright bulbs at the front. There are no other standards. It is based on lumens at a distance. That is the only fucking thing.
But I mean, isn't that what vision is based on? Like, how is it any worse?
Well, I don't know. Why don't you?
If it's lumens at a distance, it's lumens at a distance. That's just physics.
Well, I don't know, Tristan. Why don't we put gigantic bulbs in the front of your car and see what? Wait, that's what they already did, and it's horrible. It is a horrible experience for everybody else.
I love it.
I don't care.
I've seen every deer for the past year, except the one that was directly 90 degrees away from me, because it wasn't in my headlights. So
you probably should have broader headlights
on the side now.
Yeah,
side lights exactly as bright as my real headlights.
Side mirrors.
Yeah, exactly as bright as the ones on the front of the car.
The day of reckoning is coming for this. You mark my words.
And I'll be happy to take the recall when it does.
I don't think it'll be a recall, but I do think at some point someone is going to have to give a shit enough to actually take a step back and go, this is too much. And it does not at all end with Subaru. Nissan is far worse. Have you guys been followed by at night by the new Nissan Rogue?
No.
Go blind, you fucking bitch. It's horrible. They're angled, right? So they're really significantly angled down the hood. Yes. And it's like a angled stack of 3. So they go directly in your side mirrors. They're cleverly angled enough so they just go right in it and you go blind.
So annoying.
Yeah, anyways.
All together now.
All together now. So sticking with the electric vehicle theme, this article is actually turns out from like a month ago. I just saw it on Autoblog's socials today, and I shared it with the caption, awfully bold take from the author here on this one. Did you see this about the Toyota BZ4X?
No.
So
the busy forks.
That's
and
funny.
Episode title. So this is just going to make you lose your shit, Andrew. The BZ.
Oh, I did hear about this.
For
I
Beyond Zero.
Scrolled past.
So it's an electric SUV or crossover. It looks like around the RAV4 size, but he says, this author, Mr. Stocksdale. Here it is, one of the most important Toyotas in recent history.
My bad.
Wrong. In my opinion.
Ew, look at the steering wheel. Ew.
The steering wheel's
like
awful.
Turtle.
The outside, the actual exterior doesn't look that bad. It looks pretty sleek.
Looks like an I-Pace.
That is true. It does.
Kind of, yeah.
Big facts.
It's like a cross between a RAV4 and an I-Pace. Yeah, the steering wheel, Andrew, that's what the Mazda steering wheel that I rented looked like. Only it was a circle in the middle.
It goes, steering wheel go,
It does, though.
It does. It really does.
And Nick, it's got your favorite thing. Someone glued an iPad to the dashboard.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's my all-time favorite. It's my favorite interior feature nowadays.
And that binnacle is awful.
These Toyota motherfuckers want Scion to be around so bad.
Yeah, they do.
Anyways.
So anyway, the idea of the most important in recent history, he claims it's the first electric car that will first electric car Toyota will offer on a large scale. It's also the first to use the new TNGA electric car platform, which will underpin Toyota's as well as Subaru's. See, I think this is a false statement being an important car, because something we've already talked about a few times on this podcast, electric vehicles are a stopgap. Something like hydrogen is the long-term future, and Toyota already makes that. The Mirai is on sale in California. And I would argue that is much more important to the history or the future of motoring than the busy forks, as Tristan has now dubbed it.
Well, but here's the problem, though. That doesn't grab headlines. That doesn't get people's attention. And all electric, this thing is ugly and stupid. But that doesn't get people's attention.
I don't think it's ugly on the exterior. I disagree with you there. And that's fine.
Do you see that it has a bra on?
Yeah.
Okay. Swell.
What's wrong? And so what?
I'm just asking if you see what I see.
So two things. Yeah. I'm not a writer, so I don't care about the headline. I know he is, and that's what he was going for. He was going for clicks. But I don't care about that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I obviously this is not the most important car, nor is it a particularly good-looking one, and I don't know. I wish they'd named it something. Well, I guess this is the concept, right? It probably won't be called the BZ4X. Although maybe, because there was something in the article I was reading here about them reserving a bunch of BZ-related names.
Mm-hmm.
So why do they not just bring back Scion if they want to have stupid car names?
Yeah. I don't get it. I don't get it. I think that article is wrong. I don't think it looks bad, but it's not an important car.
I mean, it could be. Quickly, to go back briefly to one thing about the F-150, the only thing I thought was interesting about it was that they are making a pro version. They are specifically targeting fleets.
Yes.
LOL, you won't because you can't make any, but that's a good idea. And if this can become possible again, however, through means of production, that could genuinely be something. This making a pro F-150 electric car could be something that really changes the game for electric cars, but it's also something that should have happened 10 to 15 years ago.
I don't know if they had the technology to do it 10 or 15 years ago.
I don't necessarily know they did either, but they should have at least started with hybrids.
Yeah, someone should have tried.
They could have tried.
And it lends itself to the special editions that we were talking about earlier, too.
Well, that's true.
On an episode or 2 or 3 ago, whatever that was. Chance for those power tool manufacturers to come in. Special fleet work truck.
That would be awesome.
Make it happen.
Sorry, I just scrolled down on the wildly changing topics again. See, this is why I shouldn't be trusted to read links, because that's F-150. Now we're back to the Toyota BZ4X. Beep boop.
Busy forks.
This comment.
It does sound like a Star Wars droid.
It does, and a bad one. But here, this comment is just great. This is an incredibly beneficial, in caps, and gorgeous, in caps, looking car. This will collapse Tesla's market share that is proving unreliable and overpriced for such problematic cars. Toyota will succeed, literal quotes, where other PHEVs don't. Well done. Success story in the making. Love the interior and exterior. Perfect size for most family SUV lovers. Rex 2877, you're a fucking mark.
I was gonna say, how much did they pay you?
No. He did that for free. And he's gonna buy the first one and then have problems with it.
Yep.
I worry that he will.
Cool your jets, Rex.
Well, here's Nick. I don't understand why new car designers haven't figured out how to make an integrated, seamless, smoothly designed dashboard and information screen. That's you. This is your account.
Woo!
You're Mark Q.
Mark Q.
That's my burner.
Yeah. That's you.
Mark Q. You got me. Damn it, Andrew. Now I have to go start another one up.
He's been exposed.
Exactly. Speaking of exposed,
that is a man after my own heart, though.
Yeah, it's not wrong, right? It's not wrong that you should want a little incorporation with the technology, but I mean, I think we're a couple years away, honestly. When whoever it is figures out how to work with Gorilla Glass to make a not super curved, but just slightly curved display panel, I think that's when it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, they make, I mean,
for a good price.
Yeah. The material, price, obviously. The material, I'm guessing, is different, but they do make curved TV screens. So is there a reason why they can't translate that to a curved display in a car?
I don't know about that, but I've got a curved monitor, but it's plastic. I mean, the LCDs are curved. That's not hard, but I'm assuming, my touchscreen is flat plastic. They could use curved plastic. That won't hurt anything. But yeah.
All right. Here, I have a premiere for us. You guys want to do a premiere?
Oh yeah.
Yes, please.
So last night I was talking to a friend of mine, and she is looking to buy a car. She lives in a city in the East Coast. It's a used car. We're looking at Craigslist, whatever. And it is extremely Scottish menu. And if you remember that reference from old Top Gear, Jeremy Clarkson said that they said of a used car search they were doing, it was like the menu at a Scottish restaurant, not much on it and nothing you want. So to make the best of a bad situation, I have pulled my picks, my suggestions, and we're going to go through them so you guys can tell me what you think, whether I'm crazy, whether I'm way out in left field. Okay. So let's start here. The price was around like $4,500-$5,000. She wants something that is reliable and doesn't require a ton of maintenance, so reliable twice. She's not worried about something that's a little weird, that would almost prefer it. And she said she would like it possibly a small truck, which I said for $5,000. You're dreaming, unless you want something that will die immediately.
That's fair. So you said she wouldn't mind a little weird.
She would not mind a little weird.
Okay.
So I've pulled my list here. It's like I said, I will again preface it by saying it's a little bit of a weird situation. And I think the first one I'm going to start off with is probably some sort of scam, because the first thing I found that I was like, oh, well, this is it right here. It's a 2011 Jetta wagon with 124,000 miles, which I mean is a bit. And it seems to be in really good condition. It has, the whole power thing, CD, blah, 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 keyless. For $5,000, what do you think of a 2011 Jetta wagon with 124,000 miles?
10 years old at 124,000 miles. What does it have the trim level?
No. And it doesn't have a grab of the badge either. Wait, maybe I can get it. What's the one that just has the 2.5 on the back? So probably like the S.
Oh yeah, it's probably base, probably. Yeah. So I'm just thinking about. So you said what year?
2011.
I'm trying to remember about what that went for base.
22.
I wonder.
Completely guessing.
MSRP was 16.
Whoa, that's way less than I thought.
For base model, and the MSRP base. Right. So, could be even less than that for the base model.
Okay, that's not too bad.
And that so I don't know that that's a scam. I think if it's not a diesel, then that's not your answer, because that is not going to be reliable once or reliable twice.
Gotcha.
and it's gonna be expensive to fix it.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Especially with the 2.5, because that's a 5-cylinder.
Right. Okay. He's got it. All right. Okay. All right. My fault.
What she could do is grab the Carly adapter and make sure that it actually is 124,000 miles.
You know what? That's a really good point. Oh my God, I should send her one. That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Synergy.
How about that? Yeah, let's see, 10 years, 124, so 12,000 plus miles a year.
Average.
It's not bad mileage per year, but it's a lot of years.
It's a lot of years to be doing that
over and over again. And it's not a diesel Jetta.
Right. Good point. Okay. I'm actually just going to close that tab right away. Would you like to get worse reliability? Because I have the car for you if that's what you want.
I have
Is it only reliability once?
It is not even reliability. What I have here is a 2007 BMW 530xi with 130,000 miles. Runs, but transmission is going.
Well, that's just throw it away, because once that transmission goes, that's going to cost more than the car.
Yeah.
How much are they asking?
Doesn't matter.
I'm curious. I know it doesn't matter. I'm just curious.
I know.
No. This was one of those that's listed for $1, so maybe they actually want $1 in this case.
Well, in that case, if you can get a transmission for $3,000, then maybe.
Then yeah,
best
you might be
offer. I mean, I just had to pull that because it was a 07 BMW.
Wait, they just said best offer?
Yeah, best offer.
Let's just go offer him $100. See what he says.
That's what I was going to say. You want a BMW? All right. This one she liked, because I guess she's weird. How about a undated Ford Crown Victoria for $1,500?
Any more info?
112,000 miles.
Okay.
That's kind of it.
Honestly, if you're not worried about gas mileage,
right,
that you really
might
could
be
have
the
a
best
winner
one
there.
You presented
so far,
because
parts are nearly free.
Yep.
And it might not be reliable, but they're pretty reliable.
112 is light duty.
Yeah, I mean, they've got taxis that were once police cars that have 300,000 miles on them. Now they've had all of the components replaced. Like, are they the original car anymore? But they've got parts are practically free. You can pick them up from any junkyard, and there's tons of them.
Yep, it is cheap to fix and
easy to fix.
Yes, easy. The system is not very complex in a Crown Vic.
Right.
You can find your way around if you want to do things yourself rather easily. So for $1,500,
and you could have a picnic in the trunk.
You could.
That too.
I honestly think it sounds a little weird up front, but I think that's actually not a bad idea.
I mean, does your friend, is she driving to work? Is it long commutes?
I don't think so.
Okay. And is she downtown in a city? Because also a Crown Vic is a boat.
It's hard to.
That's true, but
I don't think it's any larger than a small truck.
Oh, that's a very good point.
And
I don't think it's likely to be stolen.
Other than there's not a bed, you can actually tow quite a bit with a Crown Vic too, if that's what you want to do with it. You get a Crown Vic and a small trailer instead of a small truck. And then you don't have to drive a truck around all the time.
There you go. That could be appealing. I found one truck in this price range. Well, only one worth talking about, I should say.
Sure.
And it's not what you'd expect.
Chevy S10.
No. We won't play guessing games because no one will ever guess this. It is a 2006 Subaru Baja.
Whoa.
Oh, well, no one would have guessed it because you said the word truck.
Oh, silence. It has a bed. Knave. With 200,000 plus miles, with head gaskets, water pump, and timing belt replaced at 185,000.
So the engine is, other than pistons, basically been almost rebuilt.
Yep.
Yes.
Recently.
Yes.
My only question would be the transmission and the differentials at that point, because for the all-wheel drive system.
Right. I feel like this is an interesting choice. It's weird choice.
Very weird.
I don't think it's a smart choice.
No, that would be the weird, fun choice if you're willing to take a gamble.
Yeah. It's out. All right. Another weird choice that she denied because she already had one, but I'm bringing it up. A 1989 Mustang GT Fox body.
For $5,000 or less?
For $4,500 cash firm. 127,000 miles. Manual. All power options work. Has a sunroof.
I mean, that's where I'd go.
With the 5.0, it actually looks like it's in half decent shape too, but she said she already has one and it runs like crap. So I guess that's her current.
She already has a Fox body Mustang?
Yeah.
Well.
Oh, wow.
That's what she said.
Respect.
Be lying,
okay.
Solid floors.
That would be, I mean, that would be my pick of what you said, but I mean, given what the 4 or 5 you just laid out, I'm still kind of leaning towards that Crown Victoria.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, weirdly enough.
I have 2 more.
Especially for that price.
That's true. Yeah. I have 2 more. One, this one's weird, but I mean, it could actually be interesting. A Ford Taurus wagon, a 2004 with 108,000 miles for $2,300 with the V6, and it's the wagon. I do think this would have life in it. I mean, by the time they were building these in 2004, I'm sure this has 75,000 more miles in it.
Oh yeah, 108,000 isn't that much. But worried about the rest of those components, kind of like what Tristan said earlier. Like, what's the maintenance record like on that for transmission and other things?
Well, according to this, garaged in Florida till 2017.
Okay.
Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't.
And it is pleasingly weird.
That's true.
You know, like especially the rear. But
that's what I was just going to say. This has the rear facing seats in the back, in the hatch.
Ooh, that is weird.
Yeah. And it's kind of ugly, but that's fine.
For 20s, what you said?
For $2,300, that's not bad.
That's not bad either. That's kind of up there with the Crown Vic.
2 Fords, huh? And then the last one is, I think, possibly what I would buy in the same situation. A 2012 Nissan Sentra SR, which was like the top-ish end. So it's got nav, it's got sunroof, it's got all of that stuff with 179,000 miles on it. That's kind of high, but also I think this has got a lot of life left in it. That little Nissan 4-cylinder is pretty tough.
Yeah, I was going to say it's high, but also Nissan. So Japanese builds are usually pretty reliable. I mean,
the only reservations I have about anything that, like, except maybe isn't the Crown Vic, when we're talking about these kinds of miles, is when are we looking at a transmission being replaced or repaired or rebuilt or whatever, depending on which one.
Mm-hmm.
That's, if this were a manual Sentra,
right,
I'd be like, yeah, 100%. But I don't know. Haven't done the research on the the transmissions specifically, because yes, the motors,
I don't know either.
You can throw them out in the desert and let them get sandblasted for 10 years and they still start,
right?
Like that's not the problem, but I would be worried about their automatic transmissions.
I mean, I guess it's less of an issue with the Crown Vic simply because you can just go get them.
Right, exactly.
You can acquire them.
Right. The Crown Vic one will probably also have a similar concern, but they're just so dirt cheap to repair.
Gotcha. Huh. That's a good point. But, I mean, at a certain point with mileage and in this price range, that's always going to be the primary risk, right? Essentially,
right, exactly. And that's how I said across the board. That was my concern with these. So,
except for the Mustang,
right? That's the only significant point in that machine's favor.
Well, did Fox Body Mustangs have problems?
No, I just don't like them.
I don't either, actually. I mean, it's not a great choice. Like, there's not like a clear winner out of those. I don't know. I was interested to hear what you guys think. So what would you go with?
I think I would still lean towards the Crown Victoria.
It's just such an overbuilt, lackadaisical, everywhere, super easy to repair. Like if the body is in good shape and it's not a rust bucket,
right,
then you can fix anything else relatively inexpensively. And I think other than gas mileage, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I think for me it would be between that and the Nissan, simply because I think the Nissan is, despite the risk of the automatic transmission, and maybe that's what you do with the extra money, right? You buy the cheaper car and then take it to the Nissan dealer, say, hey, do everything, do all the transmission stuff. It's between those two, the Crown Vic and the Nissan for me.
Yeah, it's the big, slightly overweight Labrador of cars.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. That's that portion of it.
That's good. That's good. Providing some advice. Actually, I had put a post up on Facebook calling our listeners to give out some advice that we could potentially read on the air. We got 2 comments. Do you want to go through?
Yeah, always.
So, in case you missed it, I just said, okay, listeners, let's help one another out. Comment below with your favorite, quote, car tip. It could be a mechanic, life hack, or a lesson learned while driving. Let's find out some interesting tidbits that we can share on an upcoming episode. Life hack. So, first comment that came in was from Megan. And she, not that long ago, learned about that arrow on the dash indicating which side of the car the gas tank is on.
She always says that one.
And also that you can hang the gas cap on the little gas flap. So if anybody out there listening did not know that stuff, that little arrow next to the fuel pump that tells you which side of the car your fuel cap is on. So that's one. Then it seemed to start a theme. Jessica with the tip: don't top off your tank. I know 2 people who screwed up their car in ways they didn't know possible by doing that every time they filled up. It's an expensive fix and not worth it. You guys have any experience hearing about that?
I top off my tank every time.
Yeah?
Especially with the Elantra, because there's something about the angle. Like when you put it in, you can tell the gas cap goes sort of angled into the body and down. So unless I stand there and hold it the whole time, I get literally 1.5 gallons less than the actual tank holds.
Yeah, that's what I will say, is that I don't hold it the whole time, but when I know the tank is getting full, I make sure that it's pointed, down straight into the tank. But then I stop. I don't top off after that, because I actually had my check engine light go off because it messed with my evaporative recovery system one time.
Yep.
If you overfill it, it will just cause absolute mayhem. It was on the Jeep. It was older, but still. It's lucky it wasn't permanent damage. It was just like the car freaking out until it used enough gas to pull it down to the right level, which on the Jeep was about 4 miles. But it's, the danger is real. So I don't top it off, but I do, yes, Andrew, have exactly the same problem with all 3 of my last Subarus. The gas kind of shoots into the side of the filler neck. Yeah. So the back pressure comes up too soon and cuts you off well before you should, especially on the Costco gas nozzles, because they've got,
it's a weird, they're longer or like more hooked or something.
Yeah, and they have the weird, like, instead of the handle is the lever, you have to like lift and like jam it into the tank, and that's what like lets it go.
Oh, yeah,
those are just terrible if you want to get a full tank of gas.
Yeah. Also, for some reason, like Meyer gas stations, I don't know whether they use like a different brand or something. It seems like really long, the actual like tube thing. So, yeah, I mean, that was one thing. Because I remember I was on like a quarter. I was at half on my car. And it's a 10.5 gallon tank, something like that. So, I knew I should be expecting about 5 gallons and ended up at 3. And I was like, no, there's more though. You know, so you like pull it out a little bit and it's just pouring fine. You're like, okay, all right, I see.
Yeah, the clarification is you can make sure your tank is actually filled, but once it's actually filled, don't try to splash 2 cents worth of gas in it, because then you could get hundreds of dollars in repair instead. That's not worth it.
Don't fall into the trap of playing that fuel pump game where you try to get it to stop exactly on a round dollar. Just leave it at 94 cents. If that's where it stops, just let it go.
I've never done that. Fair. No one would ever do that. Why would anybody do that?
Yeah, why would anybody do that? Why would anybody try to do that every time?
I didn't try to do it every time. But I've tried to do it before.
Everyone has. These are the little games that make life worth living.
Oh yeah.
Like when you're out for a run or revenue, if if I don't beat that car to the next light pole, I will literally die.
That's happened.
Everyone does that.
Word.
Everybody does that shit.
Oh man. So those were the 2 tips that came in per our requests. So thanks to Jessica and Megan. Do you guys have, putting you on the spot, admittedly I don't have one prepared, do you guys have any life hacky type car tips to round off this segment?
If you see a new Subaru and you have a baseball bat, you can just poke those lights right out. They just come right out.
Every time that happens to my car, because you've said that, I will break both of your headlights repeatedly.
It's never gonna happen.
Every time.
I'm not saying anyone should.
Maybe I'll just burn your garage down.
Criminal vandalism. I'm saying it's an option.
They just need an adjustment. Just you got to hit them a little bit, and yeah,
hit them a little bit. It's right on the top.
Yeah, dink with the butt of the bat. Dunk.
What if that was a thing? Because there was, I'm sure they still do. Mercedes and whatever have like the auto adjusting headlights, right, to go around corners.
Yeah, the premium tier Subarus do too.
What if that had been a thing, and you'd been able to activate the servos by bonking on the top of the headlights really hard? Do you think people would have just gone around doing that?
If it got jammed?
Yeah.
Taking an iPod and whacking it on the table on a towel?
Exactly. Punching the iPad in the back on the Apple logo.
Inertial persuasion.
There are things like this in technology.
I saw a hammer in our server room that said hard reset on it.
I wonder what that's for. I wonder if it has an application or if it's in worst case.
Yeah, or just left there as a permanent joke.
Right. You never can tell.
No, IT people, you can't trust us.
Because sometimes or maybe it was like years ago, back in the dawn ages, there was one server at the back of a rack that controlled something arbitrary. Maybe it's clocks. Maybe there's always dumb stuff like that.
Reach in and ding ding.
Yeah, and you couldn't reach the power button because it was behind the back of a rack. Like this is real shit. And all you had to do instead of doing that was take a hammer and boink it on the top.
Doink it.
Yeah. I wonder.
Well, yes. What I wonder now is just how much influence does this podcast really have? Are we going to be reporting on a story of like
a wave
baseball
of
bat
Subaru
on
vandalism.
Subaru crime spree.
Don't baseball bat Subarus, folks.
That's all right.
Don't use other tools, so I'm not to blame.
That's all right.
Don't baseball bat any brand.
I'll know who to blame, and I'll always feel superior because your cars are getting stolen left and right. So, number one stolen car brand in Milwaukee County, Hyundai Kia.
Is it really?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Because apparently you can just like Terminator style, just like rip the steering column off and walk away. There's no security on them.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah, be careful with your cars. But as a heads
up, I'm in the protected zone of the somewhat inner city area that I work in. That's not somewhat at all.
Yes.
What else we got, guys?
That's kind of all I have, honestly.
Tristan?
Yeah, my biggest thing was talking about the eclectic electric Ford, because I like the name, I like the design, I like the fact that, weirdly, although I feel like this should get you in trouble, they left the power sockets in the back like they did in the gas F-150. So just imagine you get done with a day building your cabin in the North Woods, using your truck to power your tools, and then you can't get home.
Well, hopefully they put a cap on that.
Right? Well, the car doesn't know how far you have to drive to get home.
Well, no, but you should make it, in theory, so that you'd have at least a decent range. Maybe it's 50 miles? That's pretty decent.
Maybe it's so clever
that it does know?
That it knows at least how far the next charger is.
Beep boop.
Maybe.
But how would it know about wall sockets?
No one charges their car from a wall socket. Although, funny story. Let's do this because it's a random episode. I was on a road trip down to Georgia. We stopped for gas, and we were driving past a hotel that had a Tesla park next to it, and it was like an older hotel. Like you can tell they used to have like conferences there. But now it's just a hotel. So there's like the main entrance, and then along the back was like another covered area where people could like go in for the conferences. And there was an extension cord running out from that second set of doors, and the Tesla was parked under the covered area. And I'm sure he was staying there the night, and at that speed, probably the next couple days, to charge it off of a regular 110 wall socket. But like, I just need to carry around a set of electric vehicle charging station signs, and when that happens, just like nail one up on the wall near wherever that's happening, because it's always funny when you see an electric vehicle just plugged in at a random outlet. So
yeah,
people do charge from outlets. I was a liar, but it's okay.
It's going to happen more and more. I read something today that I was like, ew, about something about the new Bolt. It's okay. Let's see here. God, I can't remember. It was something about I think it's like 4 on standard household. It's something like 4 miles of range per hour.
Oh,
it's like bad.
Super bad.
Made me actively frown. Oh.
So speaking of Bolt EV, random story. I was driving past a Bolt EV, and the guy's vanity plate, his custom plate, said Bolt EV. Like, we can read the badge on the back of the car. You don't need to use, if you're gonna pay for a custom plate, don't just put the name of your car on it.
Like, do something clever, like DEDBOLT.
Yeah, or like you, Tristan, with the WRX wing was pretty good. Like, if you're gonna be
creative, for giving out my license plate number, Nick.
You've said it on this podcast before.
That's why I said it as a joke. You, Mr. Sarcasm, just can't pick up on it, can you? You can only dish it out.
What? Is that sarcasm?
No, that was serious.
No, my point is, if you're going to, like, if I'm going to get a custom license plate from the state of Wisconsin, I'm not going to put Focus on it. Like, I don't need an extra surface to tell people what car I'm driving. There's a badge on the back of the hatch or on the trunk for that. Like,
I mean,
it's one thing to be proud of your car, but like, are you going to put Sonata on yours if you get one?
Because I drive an Elantra.
Oh, that's right. You have the Elantra. Damn it.
So definitely not.
Would you? Would you? Just to confuse people?
That's not a bad idea, actually. I wonder if it's available.
Mine's wrong now. So
no, I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings about that, because if you can pull it off, like the RAV4 guy that I've seen around here with RAV4, I feel like that's an accomplishment, because that's a super popular car. And I don't know if people would I would imagine other people would have tried for that plate, I guess, is the short version. Like if you drove a Skyline and tried to get the plate Godzilla or something, although some guy with a truck probably has that.
Yeah. But like, I think my point is, and I get what you're saying, like, if you're the first one to get it, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to. Yeah, and that guy was great. But I'm not going to spend extra money to tell people what car I drive, because I already did that by buying the car with the badge on it.
Okay, but would you do it if you, let's say you got, what would Nick really like? An Aston. Let's say you got like a DB7 or something like that. And say the plate DB7 was available. You wouldn't get that?
No.
Would you get 007?
If that was available, I'd consider it.
Corny. That's corny.
But that's not what car it is.
Well, okay. What if it's a DB5?
No. I'm not going to get that on the plate.
All right.
LCNS 2KL.
LCNS 2KL.
Oh, okay.
License to Kill.
Are you license plate Rain Man, Tristan?
I can count to 7.
Well, so here's the thing, a little bit behind the curtain. Probably next week we're going to literally do an episode about custom license plates. And I just don't want to
divulge too much here.
Well, I know, but I'm just wondering if we're going to have to deal with Tristan having a clever license plate for everything we might talk about. I need to prep for that mentally.
I would prepare yourself.
Yeah,
I have a notebook.
Tristan's shallow license plates, TM.
Yeah, I feel like that's not going to surprise me at all if he just comes. He's going to come out guns a-blazing whenever we do that episode.
Okay. I think it's the same. Right. I think it's the same skill that allows me to come up with unlimited portmanteaus.
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
Which is why it's exactly why I said that. Is like, you do this all the time. Busy forks.
Yeah, busy forks.
I don't think I took I was driving behind a very mysterious license plate today, and I did not take a picture of it, nor did I write it down anywhere.
Do you want me to translate it?
Well, now that I realize that you are a resource for this, I will definitely be bringing a lot of license plates to your attention.
It was funny. I saw a Tesla with a license plate 0 MPG.
He's not wrong.
That's not bad.
Technically,
that's better than just saying Tesla.
Technically, it's, I don't know. He's not using any gallons. It's divide by 0.
Uh-oh.
Unreal MPG would have been better.
Hashtag NA.
Non-real NPG.
Is Unreal Engine a cool license plate for an electric car? UNREAL. UNRE. Oh, that's tough. UNRL.
ENG. Oh, that's 8.
That's 8, yeah.
ENG. That doesn't translate.
Unreal.
No one would get that.
No.
Yep.
Damn it.
It's a clever thought. That's a really clever thought, but that's almost impossible to pull off.
That's right. I'll workshop it. We'll come back. We'll hit it next week.
All right. Sounds good.
Get us out of here.
I will get us out of here. So thanks for sticking with us today, everybody. We appreciate you listening, but we don't want you to just listen. We want to interact with you. We already mentioned where to go on social to find us. As you're listening on your favorite streaming platform, be sure to leave us a review if you so choose, preferably a good one, and or hit that subscribe button. It is free, and you'll get notified of any new content that we put out for you. If you're really into what we're doing and you would like to support this podcast monetarily, you have two options for that. You can go to patreon.com/Check Engine Podcast or on anchor.fm/Check Engine Podcast. There is a support button up by our logo at the top of the page. You can click there to get going. Every cent pledge is put towards making this a better experience for you, the listener, and none of it goes back into our pockets. So again, thank you in advance for that. Who or what are we thanking before we take off, gentlemen?
I will thank the countertop installers who were at the house today. As we finish the kitchen redo, we've had essentially no end of trouble with like the sales. Not the salespeople. Just like the installation manager. Everyone else in the company's been perfect. The salespeople, the planning people, the install people. It's just one guy who's like the weakest link in any chain ever. And so the install people just essentially fixed the problem themselves instead of making us continue to deal with him. So they were awesome, and our countertops look amazing. They're incredible, and they're just perfect. So shout out to the install guys who I think might get the game with this whoever he is, manager of installation or whatever, and they seem to be over prepared for his lack of competence.
There you go, Tristan.
It always kind of seems like it's just what we choose when we don't have anything else, but I think Andrew and Nick, you can attest that this is not true, because occasionally we pull this one out. I would like to thank my fiance Jessica. The last 3 weeks that we have recorded, we have a now basically middle schooler aged puppy who is just often unbearable when I need to record, because he doesn't get attention. So dealing with him and keeping it at all quiet around here, she's actually using the tried and true method of throwing the baby in the car and going out for a drive right now. So
Nice.
Thank you, Jessica, for keeping a at least passively peaceable recording environment, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to get it done.
Does the dog go to sleep when he's in the car?
Well, maybe. I don't know. He's just not here barking. So
Fair enough.
That's all we care about at this point. Cool.
He loves the car.
Yeah?
Yeah, he does love the car.
Well, he fits right in the CEP family then.
Yep.
There you go.
And right in the footwell.
Yes.
A continuing tradition.
Dog. Uh-oh.
What is it about your dogs and footwells? Do
Maybe
you
it's me.
show them that at one point?
I stick them in there and be like, "Look, you can sit here," and they love
there
it.
You go. Well, shit. Then why are we wasting time wondering when you did this?
I wasn't. I just told you he was.
Well, fine.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway. So thanks, Jessica. I would like to thank the folks at MPG Motorsports. It is a small boutique, I guess you can call it, kart builder. The MPG literally stands for My Parents' Garage. Like, they don't actively go out and sell a bunch. I had a friend of a friend tell me, hey, you should reach out to these guys and see if they have a spare chassis laying around, because these things are dynamite.
Spare chassis, wow.
So I asked around. One of the guys, Jeremy, had a spare chassis in his basement that he sold to me over the off season, and third time out of the trailer, we won the race on Sunday. I've never driven a kart this good in my entire life. I've had driven maybe 4 or 5 different chassis before this one. Never in my life have I experienced something that was this good this early, with us having to do, relatively speaking, compared to the other ones, very minimal setup work. So MPG Motorsports, thank you for making me look a lot better than I am and helping me get first win in quite a long time.
Well, yeah, that's right. Congratulations, man. You should have led off with that. I totally forgot.
That's all good. Whether the Facebook post went up and people commented and I was getting texts and all that kind of stuff. So it's good. I'm thinking about the next one now.
Nice. That one's over. On to the next one.
On to the next one. For real though, like the one thing I will say about this past weekend was like I've never been so confident in the fact like in a go-kart that I actually called my shot before it happened.
Ooh.
So it was raining. We were the first class out after the rain delay to qualify. I was a wuss in qualifying. I thought the conditions were going to be way worse than it was. I left a ton of time on the table. So I started towards the back for the heat race. I went from like 6th or 7th in the heat up to 3rd. And that's where I was going to start the feature. And I told my dad walking back to the pits or walking back to our trailer, if we don't break, we're going to win the feature. Because there's no one on this in our class today that can hang with this kart. And I'll be damned if I was actually right.
Nice,
so,
man.
Thanks to MPG Motorsports for building a fantastic racing kart. And as always, thank you listeners for your continued support. We love hearing from you. We love recording this for you, and we cannot wait to speak to you again. Until then, take care.